I don't care if Muslims are insulted by the word crusade. I'm insulted by the word jihad. So when you guys stop saying jihad, I'll stop saying crusade. You said you do not want to see Christians being persecuted. Does that mean, as a Muslim, you are against the implementation of the apostasy law?
Perfect, the most perfect religion.
Well, no, it hasn't.
The book is there, and
no,
the book is.
The book has been changed. The hadiths were invented.
No, sorry.
Salat was adapted. Hajj was adapted. Let's be clear. What actually did Muhammad prescribe in terms of salat?
Let me tell you.
How many motions?
I stayed away from partying as much as I could. And I was more interested in getting on into a productive start.
Right, shall we go that way a bit or over here a bit? And then...
My wife's doing this.
Remember you said, I asked you in the last discussion.
Go contact!
I suck a gal, man. If you're
Content always shy, come on, we got content. Hey, should we stand over here?
Yeah. Well, here is good.
If you violate
Here
your
is
trust.
also good, I guess.
He said yes.
I would.
So I don't know.
I mean, to be honest, I didn't listen to all of Ralph's things on your video. So if you've got any things you want to bring up, yeah. But I mean, obviously, I disagree with the setting up of this patriotic alternative party.
That's what I'm saying. Before I saw you standing in line with me, I thought it was obvious as well. But then I got doubts.
Yeah.
Conte, one quick question unrelated to what you said to Bob. No. What's this normal?
Do that red stuff?
Yeah.
That's just showing you what's in focus.
Okay.
You need the red stuff to be on board.
Okay, cool. So I'm just going to go like this and go
Change your focus. Is it on manual focus or auto?
Auto. So normally
Yeah, he lost his temper, didn't he?
Maybe everything's in focus.
Bless his heart. I mean, I've seen people
normally when I
like
go like
grab
that,
the
it
Pope's
goes
hand,
focus.
pull and yank, and it's kind of like...
Yeah. Alright.
It shows his humanity. We all know he's human. It shows he's real.
So what are the questions you want to ask?
Of apostasy in your doctrine.
So the question is, for the microphone, whether Christianity has similar laws for apostasy. And the simple answer to that is no, we don't. Oh, okay, tell me when. Doing a countdown.
Okay.
Testing, 1 2 1 2.
Testing 1 2 3.
That's the problem with technology. The more complicated it gets, the more things can go wrong.
Give me a mic check, Bob.
We got the Dawa team here listening to the presentation.
1 2 3 Dawa team running away. That's normal.
No.
Always running away.
We like it.
Inspired by Shamsi.
No. He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Right. So are we good to go? So the question is, does Christianity have apostasy laws like Islam? So for those of you that don't know, the apostasy laws, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Shalom, brother, shalom.
Go on, Ash.
One second.
One second. Yo, I need to speak. I need to speak to you. Yo. Hold on, quick.
Oh, the title, yeah.
Yo, you Soco, right?
Yeah.
The question is,
Wait.
No, man, make Bob talk.
Oh, come on.
Only thing, me not.
Christians have the same kind of apostasy laws as Islam.
I know.
It's an established fact. There's very few people that would argue against it that Islam has apostasy laws. Islam commands that if you leave the religion of Islam, having been a Muslim, you should be killed. That is a law within Sharia. And it is fair of me, as a Christian, to condemn that law and oppose that law. Now, why is it fair? It's fair because Christians are suffering because of that law. There are Christians that have left the religion of Islam that are now facing death. There are Christians in this country who have had attempts to kill them made on their lives because of these kinds of laws. Now, I want to ask all you liberal progressives and all you liberal do-gooders, not that there's any surrounding me right now, to be fair, yeah, but
He's a liberal bad
liberal progressives and do-gooders that might be watching this, you support the idea that Christians should lose their job if they are verbally critical of things like LGBTQ agenda, or the redefinition of marriage, or that they won't agree with the practice of homosexuality and they verbally speak against it. And when they lose their jobs, or when Christian bakers refuse to bake a cake that celebrates gay marriage, or when a Christian hotelier refuses to allow an unmarried couple to share a room because it goes against our faith, you condemn us, you sack us, you prosecute us for discrimination. Why then do you same liberal progressives not challenge Muslims who uphold a law calling for the death of those who leave Islam? Why the double standards? Why is our challenging of LGBTQ less when we're not calling for anyone's death? When we're standing against that agenda because it contradicts our understanding of the sacraments, you condemn us and you punish us, but yet Muslims that are arguing for the apostasy laws and for the killing, the execution of Christians who have left Islam, you don't punish them, you don't penalize them, you turn a blind eye to that kind of bigotry. Now, Leon asked, does Christianity have similar laws? No, we don't. Not at all. There are Old Testament commands in the Old Covenant calling for those who leave Judaism to be punished. However, you're not speaking to a Jew. You're speaking to a Christian. And a Christian reads the Bible through a matrix of covenants. We read the Bible through a paradigm of covenants, which means that there is an old covenant, the associated literature is the Old Testament, and there is a new covenant with associated literature of New Testament. Christians don't reject the Old Testament in the sense of saying that these things are now chucked in the dustbin. But what we say is that because of the new covenant, the old covenant is taken to a new level. It is renewed, it is transformed by the coming of the Messiah. Christ and the apostles never called for anyone to be executed for leaving the Christian faith. That has never been a Christian practice. The practice for amongst Christians, for those who leave the Christian faith, has been excommunication. Excommunication means to be exiled from the community, to be cast out of the community, to be seen as a non-believer and to be treated as a non-believer. Now, all through early Christian history, when someone was excommunicated by the emperors or by the councils, the typical punishment would be exile. And the perfect example of that would be Saint Athanasius. Saint Athanasius stood against the heresy of Arianism. But when the Roman emperors were Arians, the punishment that they did to Athanasius was to exile him. And he was exiled multiple times over the course of his life. The punishment that is given by secular society is different from that given by the church. The church has never believed that it has the right to give capital punishment, and it never has. Capital punishment has always been the prerogative of the secular authorities. In Romans 13, it states that it is the state that is given the sword. It is the secular rulers that are given the power of the sword to give life and death. So capital punishment was given by the secular authorities. Capital punishment for heresy was something that was introduced by Christian secular authorities at the time of the Albicinian heresy in the Languedoc, France. And it developed from there and was also practiced in places across Europe from the 11th century onwards, which means that for the vast majority of Christian history, we Christians did not punish people through death because of apostasy or heresy, which means that it is something that is connected to the judgment of civil authorities. Now, how is this different from Islam? It is different from Islam in this way by the way that laws are constructed in the two religions. Within the Christian faith, we have the Christian paradigm, the narrative of the Christian gospel, which lays out for us doctrines, values, and history. And these develop into laws based upon civil authorities reflecting upon how best to implement the values of the Christian faith. So an example of this would be the works of people like William Temple, who looked at the Christian teaching about helping the poor and argued for the establishment of a welfare state, but then it was for the civil authorities to create that welfare state based upon a reflection of Christian values. So it is a secondary movement of Christian civil authority to establish the appropriate punishment or not to a particular crime. It is not given explicitly within the Christian faith. By contrast, Islam does not see a separation between church and state, between secular authority and religious authority, and thus what is established by Muhammad as the law is the civil law. Civil laws can change within a Christian paradigm. They cannot change within an Islamic paradigm. So when Islam calls for the execution of those who leave Islam, there is no possibility of reform. It cannot be changed. You cannot undo it. It is established forever. Which means that any Muslim committed to Muhammad's teachings today believes that those who leave the religion of Islam should be executed today. Now, you liberal progressive hypocrites, you who punish us Christians because we speak out against gay marriage, you who go after our businesses and you prosecute us in the courts and you try to charge us for hate crimes, when are you going to go after the Muslims who stand up for the apostasy laws?
Exactly.
When are you going to take them to court? When are you going to charge them with preaching religious hatred? When are you going to sack them from their jobs? When are you going to kick them off their university courses? When are you going to punish them with fines and send them to prison? Now, one moment. Christians, by their civil authority, can implement or unimplement punishments depending upon the circumstances of the time and the situation. It is for this reason that a Christian paradigm is better than an Islamic paradigm for the creating of civil law. Because civil law needs to be adaptive to the circumstances. If you fix law from a particular period of time and a particular socio-economic and cultural context, and then you say that this law cannot be changed, then eventually those laws will become out of date. Perfect example. Muhammad, in his ignorance, and because his non-existent God never told him, did not believe 1 second, I'm still talking. Did not believe and did not understand that the rising and the setting of the sun is not the same across the whole world. He believed that what he experienced in Saudi Arabia was true for everywhere in the world. But we know that's not true. If you go to Greenland, the sun rises just twice a year. But the practice of fasting, according to the Sunnah, is established based upon the rising and the setting of the sun. So, what do Muslims do? Because their law, as instituted by Muhammad, isn't actually appropriate to any Muslim in Greenland or Iceland or the northern parts of Norway and Russia. What do? They have to invent their religion post hoc after Muhammad, whilst at the same time claiming that their religion was given by God perfect at the time of Muhammad without any need to change at all. So, if they can change the practice of fasting, why can they not change the laws about apostasy? Perfect. Now you can come in. Come on, camera.
Bob, several points here. I appreciate I didn't listen from the beginning, but based on what I've heard about how somehow Islam is inferior to Christianity and so on and so forth. First of all, you are asking us you complain about Christians being persecuted in this country, and your response to that is, why don't Muslims get persecuted as well? So in other words, let's replace your persecution with a persecution of another minority. Do you see how I wouldn't accept that? I wouldn't want you to be persecuted for your beliefs. Likewise, I wouldn't want Muslims to be persecuted.
Can I respond to that point?
Yes.
Right. So his point was, why are you calling for the discrimination of another group to replace the discrimination of Christians? I wasn't. I was pointing out the hypocrisy of liberal progressives who discriminate against Christians because we don't and will never accept the LGBTQ agenda to transform family and marriage, and the fact that Christians have lost their jobs, their businesses, and their places on university because they won't go along with it. But these same liberal progressives are not sacking Muslims for defending apostasy laws. That was the hypocrisy I was pointing out. Second point. You said you do not want to see Christians being persecuted. Does that mean, as a Muslim, you are against the implementation of the apostasy laws?
Okay, so can I respond to you?
Yeah, to my question.
So, no. We go back to your original points. Then I'll respond to your question. So, it's good that you're not seeking to specifically discriminate against Muslims. I take that's what I'm taking from what you're saying. As a follow-up to that, should you not surely see that, for example, in China, where Muslims are by far more persecuted, much more, but nonetheless Christians are also persecuted. For example, the Chinese Communist government, and I presume you like me, you are vehemently against communism. The Chinese Communist government are harvesting organs of not only Muslims but Christians, right? They're persecuting Christian places of worship and of course Muslim places of worship. Do you not see that instead of your hate mongering, that you can just focus as a joint alliance, almost even a temporary alliance, to we'll go into the hate prohibition, but temporary alliance to combat the greatest evil that we're facing today, which is the communist regime, which is persecuting anyone of religion, whether it's Muslim, Christian, or Buddhist, or Hindu.
And my question?
Your question about if I...
do you support the apostasy laws?
Okay. So you're basically asking me... oh, no. Relating to that question, sorry, I will come back to the question, but relating to that question, you said there is no killing of Christians who leave their religion. It's never happened in history.
I didn't say that.
No, you did.
I said the exact opposite.
You didn't say that.
I said the exact opposite.
What? So that in Christian history,
if you had actually listened, I said
no,
the
you said they were
opposite.
exiled. They were not killed.
You didn't listen properly, did you?
No, I suppose I walked off. So
well, there you go.
Okay,
Don't comment on something if you didn't listen to it.
Now.
Yeah.
So now I've answered about the apostasy. Do you support the apostasy laws as established by Muhammad?
First of all, Prophet Muhammad is our guide, our moral duty. Whatever he says, whatever he does, whatever he commands, that is the moral thing.
So is that a yes?
No, wait.
Is that yes or no? Come on, man.
But the point is, the apostasy law has its context that it's specified in. For example, we don't implement the apostasy law in this country. It's a legitimate thing. We don't implement many things in this country relating to...
No. Do you agree with the apostasy laws as dictated by Muhammad.
What is the apostasy law?
That those that choose to leave the religion of Islam should be killed.
Is that what you understand from the apostasy law?
That's what I understand.
Okay, so the actual
should be executed. Sorry, executed after judicial process.
The actual apostasy law is that if someone
just answer whether you agree with it. Yes or no.
Stop dancing.
You're asking me to agree something that.
Does anyone want to hear him answer the question?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Answer the question. Do you agree
You don't get to
that a Christian who has left Islam should be executed after judicial process?
Simple
Do
question.
you agree?
The actual.
Do you agree? Yes or no?
If you're not interested
Getting
in
cold.
that discussion, so the actual apostasy law.
Go on, tell us what the actual
apostasy law is. If someone is publicly opposing Islam, for example, has left Islam and is starting to insult Prophet Muhammad, insult Islam, and so on, the judge takes him. Again, there are even differences of opinion in this matter.
Just get to the point, bro.
No. If you're not.
He's dancing around.
Dancing. Stop dancing. Stop dancing.
Answer the question. Do you believe whatever the qualification?
You're asking me a question.
Because you're not answering it, bro. Do you believe that my friend Kryptonite who left Islam should be executed for leaving Islam?
Fair question. Come on, stop dancing.
Fair question. Answer the question.
There has to be a certain mannerism in the discussion. Okay?
Well, try practicing it, bro. Answer the question.
Okay. So, in Islam, if the apostate, if someone leaves Islam and is publicly leaving Islam, insulting Islam, and historically that meant also siding with the enemies of Islam, then the judge takes him in, questions him, gives him 3 days to repent. If he still insists on his position of publicly hating on Muslims, attacking Muslims, siding with Muslims' enemies, then yes, the apostasy.
Okay, let me just address what you heard.
Come on.
We talked about 3 things.
All right.
So firstly, should Christians oppose the communists? Absolutely we should.
Yeah.
Not with Muslims. We should oppose communists.
Yeah.
We should oppose communists full stop.
Full stop.
Regardless of what the Muslims do.
Exactly.
If the Muslims ally with the communists, we should still oppose the communists. The communists have killed more Christians than any other ideology in the world. More Christians have died at the hands of communists than any other ideology, including Islam.
Yeah.
I also stated quite clearly that Christian civil authorities did practice from the 11th century onwards until about the 1700s capital punishment for heretics and apostates.
You condemn wholeheartedly.
Which I would not call for the practice of today.
But you condemn or not? I mean, it's.
I would not call for the practice of today. By contrast, stood here today in the 21st century in London, you heard a Muslim argue in defense of the execution of Christians who left Islam for the punishment, he says, of abusing the Prophet. That means when I point out that Muhammad was a paedophile who had sex with a 9-year-old child, I would be abusing the Prophet.
Wow, you're telling the truth.
Kryptonite, who is a Christian who left Islam, and one of the reasons why he left Islam is because he couldn't accept a Prophet marrying a 6-year-old girl and then having sex with her. Note the aggression. Note the aggression.
It stings.
When you point out the reality of what their Prophet did, they consider it an insult.
Exactly.
He tells me to fuck off in the park.
Wow.
But imagine what our society would look like if people like him ever gain the reins of power.
Wow, brace yourself.
Imagine what our society would look like if these Salafist punks ever gain the reins of power. I'll tell you what we'll look like. We'll look like Syria. We'll look like Saudi Arabia. We'll look like Iran. We'll look like Egypt, where Christian churches are bombed, where Christians suffer from anti-Christian pogroms. We'll look like Pakistan, where Christians are bombed in parks, where their churches are bombed, killing women and children. will look like these kinds of societies.
don't want that.
And all of you liberal do-gooders who buy into the narrative that someone points out this information to you is some kind of hate mongerer. You are the kind of monkeys who put their hands over their eyes and their ears and their mouth. I see no evil, I hear no evil, I speak no evil.
Why is monkeys?
Now, as Christians, we offer something better than Islam. We offer something better than Islam. We offer Christ as our example and the teachings of the apostles who emphasize, come and stand here. Come and debate here. Come and debate here. Okay, ask one question and then I'll answer. What's your question?
The question was that Christians, they started World War I and World War II. Non-Muslim were involved.
Okay, let me address that point. Let me address that point.
No.
So he's all. The question is, Christians started World War I and World War II, not Muslims.
Yeah, he said that.
Let's just deal with that for a moment.
Alright.
Because the reality is World War I was started by an ideology of nationalism which is in direct contradiction to the Christian faith. Christians are not nationalists. Christians form a pan-confederacy of ethnicities and nations bound together in their love for Jesus Christ.
Amen.
During World War II, that was an ethno-nationalistic ideology, and it is interesting that the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, a Muslim, sided with Hitler because he also hated the Jews.
Perfect.
That's true, that's right.
It was interesting that the Albanian Muslims sided with the Nazis and had a special division of the Waffen SS in the Waffen SS.
That's your
It is interesting that thousands of Jews were saved by being hidden in Catholic monasteries around Europe.
Wait, when Rommel the Desert Fox went through North Africa and went to Morocco. Yeah, sorry, I'm not claiming to be like an expert.
One question and then get out of the ring.
You're not an expert.
One question and then get out of the ring.
And he went through
Get out of the ring,
went through Algeria, went to the Kingdom of Morocco. Rommel was like, okay, yeah, give us your Jews. And then the King of Morocco was like, what Jews? There are no Jews here, only Moroccans. And there are actually a lot of Jews in Morocco.
I'm not denying that there were good Muslims.
But
I'm not denying that there were good Muslims.
Here we go.
But the point that this brother was making, because you weren't listening, the point that this brother was making, he was trying to criminalize Christians because of World War I and World War II, whilst ignoring the nuances and the complexities of the issue. You can't generally stroke a complicated issue like World War I and World War II. I'm not denying that there were good Muslims. I am pointing out that Albanian Muslims sided with the Nazis and had a special division in the Waffen SS, and that the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was a personal friend of Adolf Hitler. Whereas the Pope of the time condemned the influence of National Socialism on the practices of the church.
So, I think if, we're living in a proper Christian country under Christian laws...
We don't.
Yeah, I know, but let's say we were. Would people be allowed to criticize Christianity and, leave and, practice non-Christian acts? Or is that Christian haram?
There's no injunction.
Will there be freedom in your...
There is no injunction within the Christian faith calling for the punishment of those who criticize the Christian faith.
Hold on
no, don't tell him to be quiet. You're not the dictator here. I'm talking to you, bro. So there's no injunction within the Christian faith. Notice the supremacist is telling you to shut up in the park. So in terms of the Christian faith, there is no injunction within the New Testament calling for Christians to punish one another, except that they be excluded from the church. That is the only punishment that is prescribed in the New Testament. Now, Christians in the past, from the 11th century to the 1700s, due to civil authorities, did practice capital punishment for heresy and apostasy. However, before the 11th century and after the 1700s, Christians were arguing against such practices.
I mean, while they was arguing, didn't Queen Elizabeth, you know, I think burnt Catholics alive?
Yes, I know.
Like,
what period was that, bro?
I know it was before the 11th
Was that
century.
between the 11th century and the 1700s? There you go. So I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. But show me. But the difference is, this is why my criticism of Islam is legitimate. Because in Islam, apostasy laws are commanded by Muhammad.
Yes.
They can never be changed.
Yes.
Which means that whether I live in the 7th century, the 10th century, the 14th century, the 17th century or the 21st century, the punishment for leaving Islam is what?
Death.
Execution.
Exactly.
So, what's the punishment? Come on.
Why Richard the Lionheart went to Jerusalem?
Why did Richard the Lionheart went to Jerusalem?
Yes.
Because Christians were fighting to liberate Christian land from Muslim occupation.
There was Bolt.
Where's the document?
There's no historian, brother. So, the kind of nonsensical argument made by my Muslim colleague here is that there's no document calling Palestine and Syria and Egypt Christian land. They were Christian majority countries when Muslims invaded them.
Who made them Christian? The Roman
And
Empire,
Christians Christians in the Crusades were fighting to liberate Christian land from Muslim occupation.
There was Bolt.
Actually, Christianity spread in the Middle East by the sword, by
No,
the Roman Empire.
Not true.
Which was made by Constantine in Constantinople.
When did Christianity start?
And thank God we have cleansed now
When did
Constantinople
Christianity
and all of
start?
From your dirt.
When did cleansed, he says. Cleansed, he says. This is the supremacist narrative that exists in too much of the Muslim community. There are too many Muslims who buy into a narrative of supremacism and bigotry against Christians, and we don't call it out because of political correctness and a weak liberal progressive ideology. He said cleansed Constantinople when they invaded Constantinople in 1453 and butchered so many Christians that the Bosphorus Straits ran red with Christian blood. Now he said Christianity was spread by Constantine by the sword.
Yeah, he said that.
That is a lie. I suggest that he reads the works of Dr. Bart Ehrman, who talked about how Christianity became a world religion. Christianity, by the time of the conversion of Saint Constantine, had become 50% of the Roman Empire, and that was not with the use. I'm answering your question.
Just answer that question.
I am answering your first question.
Forget
Have
about
some
the first
manners.
question.
No,
Go to the last question.
now he wants me to forget about the
Because
first
this question will show you.
Why
the
does he
lies.
want me to forget about the first question?
Why, Bob?
Because
Just
it
answer
will
this
show
question. Just answer.
how
Did
ignorant
the Roman
he
Empire
is. And he is an
invade
ignorant
England or
man.
not?
He is an ignorant man.
Answering the question.
I'm answering your first
Just
question.
answer this question.
No,
quickly.
I will answer
I don't
your
have time for this.
first
Answer this
question and then I will answer your
Be
second
quick
question.
then. Don't take your time.
I'll take my time
No, just be
because
quick.
I am not your dhimmi and you are not the caliph.
I don't have to give you my
I
guinea.
don't
I'm just
pay
asking
you a jizya
to have
tax,
a-
and I never will.
Very
And
funny.
I never will. The
You're a
day
funny
they
guy.
bring out the
Listen.
jizya tax in the UK,
Yeah.
I will go to court for murder because I will kill the tax collector. I'll die before I pay the jizya.
Perfect.
I didn't ask. I don't need your money.
So-
Keep it to yourself.
So,
Answer me one question.
back to the
Did
Christian Roman Empire.
invade England or not?
Right, I'm going to show just how stupid
very
this man
simple
is.
question. Okay, yalla.
The Roman Empire invaded England at the time of Julius Caesar. That was 300 years before Constantine, you clown.
So they were Christians?
They were not Christians, they were pagans.
When did they turn
This
Christians?
is what
When did they turn
happens
Christians?
when
Go to
someone
the Roman
gets
baths
their
in Bath.
knowledge
Go
of
to the
history
Roman baths in
and
Bath
about
and look at the
Christianity
religious
from the
symbolism.
likes of
It ain't
Zacchaeus
Christian.
Knight.
It's Aquasulis.
Who's that?
It's
Who's that? Who's that?
Aquasulis.
You
The
don't
god
know
of
anything
water
about the
in
history of
Bath.
these lands, bro.
Ignorant
You're a
that.
moron. You
You're a-
don't know anything about the
Roman
Christian
baths in
lands.
Bath
You
and
think
look
I'm
at the
smart.
symbols of do some reading.
Constantine.
It
Constantine.
wasn't symbols of Christ, it was
You're a
symbols of
Mongol in reality.
Aquasulis in the Roman baths
Even-
of Bath.
do me a favor.
About
He knows
100
more than
miles
you.
to the west.
I know
Get a
more than
train
you.
there.
You don't know anything,
know
bro.
nothing about the
Julius
history.
Caesar invaded England in what year?
I don't care fucking invading.
What
England.
year?
Swearing now.
What year?
Swearing when
I
you
don't
lose
care
it.
What year?
All I know that.
What year?
I don't know
What
what year. I
year?
don't care what
What
year. It
year?
doesn't matter.
What year?
Why doesn't it matter?
It does matter
Why?
because he made the argument
Yeah.
that the Roman Christians invaded England. But the fact is, Julius Caesar invaded England before Christianity started.
You got caught there.
That's how idiotic this man is.
You're talking
why.
nonsense. and
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
swearing
yeah,
it when you
But
when you
let's
start
look
to
at all
know.
the lands that Muslims invaded.
Yeah.
Egypt,
Yeah.
Syria, Palestine, Armenia, Georgia, Turkey, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Spain, Portugal, Sicily, Italy,
Christ,
Somalia.
Hungary, Romania,
the Roman
Slovakia, Czech, Albania, Macedonia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, the Persia. All of these lands were invaded by Muslims, and most of them were invaded before the First Crusade. Learn your history, Christians, and learn to tell your own history. Because if you don't tell your own history, your enemies will tell your history for you. And that is why it is important that you know your history. It's why it's important that you know your own history, so that people like this cannot villainize the Christian faith based upon their ignorance of history.
Education from.
You're not used to free speech, are you?
He's not. He's clearly not used to free speech.
You're not used to freedom
He's
of thought, freedom
agitated
of
by
religion.
free speech.
I'm
He's
just
irritated
agitated
by free
By
speech.
the attacks, by the constant attacks by you and him. That's why I'm agitated.
Are you agitated?
Because of the constant attacks.
Are you
Attacks?
agitated?
Are these attacks?
Are you
They're
agitated?
two policemen. Go and tell us-
Yeah, go and tell the
them
policeman.
we're attacking you.
Go
We're
make a
attacking
report
you.
for
Go and
hate
tell the
speech.
police officer.
Go on, they're right there. They're right there. So not really attacks then, are you? More like accurate criticisms of a dunce that doesn't know history.
Perfect.
We died.
Yeah, I do. You don't. So stop talking crap about my religion. So,
Crap about your religion.
yeah,
Your
crap
religion is
about my
crap, man.
religion.
That you said it
Crap
yourself.
about my religion.
Crap.
Did I say something that was crap about your religion? Which bit?
You don't even know my religion. You didn't even ask me. You just assumed that I'm a Muslim.
I am assuming that, yes. Am I wrong?
I can't tell you what religion.
I can't tell you. That's, by the way, called in the corner by a Muslim for I'm a Muslim, but I got caught out lying. Are you embarrassed by your religion?
Not, I'm not
Are you ashamed of your religion?
What is your religion now?
Well, I'm a
Forget
Christian.
about
What's
my
your religion? What's your religion?
Christian what?
What is your
Protestant,
religion?
Lutheran,
What is your
Seventh
religion?
Adventist?
What
No,
is
no,
your
no, no.
religion?
You have to say, what's your religion?
What
first?
is your religion? I just did Christian. What's
Christian
yours?
what? Christian what?
Christian what? What's yours?
Christian what?
Christian what? Do you notice how he doesn't want to answer a
Just
question?
answer the question first.
No, no, no.
I'll tell
You
what
answer the question. I'm not your dhimmi. I'm not paying you a jizya, and you're not the caliph.
Okay, you said you're Christian?
So, what kind of Muslim are you?
What kind of Muslim am I?
Yes.
How many kinds are there?
Are you a Muslim?
What do you know about Islam?
I know lots. I know enough about
What do you know about
Islam.
Shia Sunni?
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about the Shia Sunni differences.
Forget about the Sunni. Let's talk about the Shia.
Let's talk about the Shia Sunni differences.
Tell me what you know about the Shia.
No, 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 no,
I
no.
will try to correct
No,
you.
no, 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 no. Ah, so he's a Shia Muslim. There we go.
Okay, well done, well done.
There we
Tell me now
go.
what
At
you know.
last. You have to force it out of him, but he gets there eventually.
What's your belief now? What's your what do you call
About
it?
Shia Islam.
No, about Shia, about Christian. What?
Oh, now he wants to change the topic. Okay.
We will go back.
Guys,
Just
guys.
answer,
He keeps trying to change the
I
topic.
told you,
Every
man.
minute
You
he's
have to
changing
tell
the
yours
question.
now, you have to tell yours.
So, as a Shia Muslim,
To be fair.
as a Shia Muslim, do you agree
As a Christian, what?
with
As a
Iran's
Christian, what are you?
practice of killing those who leave the religion of Islam?
No, I don't agree with the killing of religion.
You don't agree with killing apostates?
Freedom in religion, I believe in.
Then I'll shake your hand.
Yeah,
Well done.
you're a good man. You're a good man.
Because there is
He's a good man. He's better than his prophet.
Yeah.
He's better than his prophet. He's better than Muhammad.
Yeah,
There is
big
an
up,
ayah
big
in the
up.
Quran. It says, "La ikraha fi din." Like, they mean no hatred, no compulsion in religion.
Okay.
So that's what I believe in personally.
Yeah.
There should be no compulsion.
Do you believe in the use of hadiths?
No, I don't believe in the Sunni hadith. I think they have so much lies in them.
And tell me, why do you think that the Sunni hadiths have lies in them?
Because they have been by the winners in the history. Bani Umayyah, they have won the war,
Yeah.
and they have written the history. Because we all know the history written by the winners.
Yep.
That's my personal belief, that they have defeated the Alawites, and then they have rewritten the history.
Are you an Alawite?
Alawite. What does Alawite mean to you?
It's a Shia group.
Shia, yeah.
Within, are you an Alawite?
Shia.
You're a Shia.
Shia, yeah.
Okay, so we got there. So you're a part of the party of Ali.
No, I'm not. I don't have any political affiliation. I just have like a system of belief.
What does Shia mean?
The 12 Imam system of belief.
Yeah, the 12 Imam system of belief.
Correct.
Yeah.
I believe in the 12 Imam.
Yeah, that it
and,
passes through the family
Not
of the
passes
Prophet
through,
Muhammad.
it just passes to especially 12 person. It passes.
Yeah.
And the last Imam, he's the one waiting for. He's the Messiah.
Yes,
Waiting for.
I know that.
He's the Imam al-Mahdi al-Qa'im.
Yeah.
And do you know about this? Have you heard about this before?
I know in its generality.
Yeah.
I don't know in its specifics.
I don't have any political affiliation.
That's fine.
Because I'm living as a guest in the UK. So mainly I'm just practicing my religious.
So in 12
in a gentle way,
Shiism,
that's
just
it,
to be
yeah.
clear,
Yeah.
in 12 Shiism, are you saying on camera, because people are going to Google it straight away, are you saying that there's no laws of apostasy?
Laws of apostasy?
Yes.
No, we don't have a state, so there's no law of apostasy.
But if you had a state, would there be a law of apostasy?
There will be a law, yeah. There will be three options you get. When the Imam Mahdi come back, the
Yes.
12 Imam, he will give you three options. Either you accept him as an Imam,
Yeah.
or you pay the jizya,
Yeah.
or the sword.
Right.
One of the three.
Okay.
If you don't take him as an Imam, Imam Mahdi when he comes.
Yeah.
That's not up to me.
But you think that
I don't know when he's gonna come.
But you think that only will happen when the Mahdi comes?
Exactly, and Jesus will pray behind him.
Do you
Isa
believe that
alayhi
12 Shias have the right to set up a state before the Mahdi?
They have a state.
Before the Mahdi?
They can try, but it will be very difficult.
And if they succeed, can they? Would you argue in that situation for the implementation of apostasy laws?
The application of apostasy law is forbidden for us to do them now, because it's only lawful for us to do the apostasy law when the Mahdi comes.
Okay.
And Isa will pray behind him. If that happens, then he's the one who will set it up. I don't do that thing.
Yeah.
I can just convey the message to you, because I'm reading the
So
Shia
I have a question. You believe that your religion goes back to Muhammad?
I believe my religion goes back to Prophet Muhammad. Correct?
Yep. And the Sunnis believe that their religion goes back to Muhammad?
Correct.
Yep. But when you practice Salat, for instance, your Salat is different to the Sunni Salat, is it not? Okay.
We pray like this.
Yeah.
They pray like this.
And what are the differences are there when you do the Salat?
There is quite a lot of differences.
Yeah, please do.
When we believe that the last thing to say in the Salat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, pray to Muhammad and al Muhammad. We believe in al Muhammad, they say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The main difference as well is the tawalli wa tabarri, loyalty and this loyalty. You have to have the loyalty to the friends of Imam Ali, the Emir al-Mu'minin, he's the commander of the believers. Ali.
Yep.
His name is Btbsoco.
I'm just, yeah. And the Sunnis don't believe this.
The Sunnis, they believe in, they have their loyalty to the enemy of Allah.
Right. Okay. So I want to focus in on the practical differences, not the doctrinal differences, and the reason for that I'll come on to. So you one of the ways that you pray Salat differently. What are the other ways that your Salat is different from the Sunni Salat?
Yeah, the Salah is different in a way that there is a lot of similarity. There is some differences. Okay? The differences is that I can name a few, but that one way they pray like that. They will pray like the Shia pray like this.
Yeah.
Sunni pray like this.
Yeah.
Other way is that after we finish prayer, we do the ta'qib, dua, supplications.
Yeah.
It's completely different than the Sunnis.
What do they do?
Because the Shia Sunnis, they curse the enemies of Imam Ali and Hussein.
Yeah.
They have a lot of, they curse on Bani Umayyah.
This is the Sunnis or the Shia?
The Shia.
This is what the Shia do. They curse the enemies of Ali.
They curse the enemies of Ali.
And the Sunnis, what do they do?
They curse as well Ali.
They curse.
But now it's
they
not,
curse Ali.
Yeah, before.
Sunnis believe.
But they don't do it anymore now.
Right. So what do they do now that's different from what you do?
Now that the difference that we do, that they are loyal to our enemies.
Yeah.
We are
No, in
loyal
terms of their practice of salat.
Practice of salat.
Is it just the hand gesture?
To be honest, it's the four pillars are pretty much the same between the Sunni and the Shia, because the
They're not
difference
it's those little differences that I want to home in on. Because the Sunni have one way of doing salat. What are the differences are there about salat? Like the rock, for instance.
The rock, exactly. Thank you for reminding me, actually.
Yeah.
The rock, the Shia, they pray on the rock. They believe the rock is from the turba. Turba means the soil of Karbala, or the sand of Karbala. We believe when we pray on it, when we prostrate our head here, the five things will be removed from it. Such as, I have a hadith about it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've saved it.
It's okay, you don't need to prove it. I'm just for the moment going to take you on your word.
I can give you the definition because this question you asked.
So they use the rock. That is one of the.
There is an answer for it.
Do you do wudu differently?
The wudu we do.
Is it different? It's pretty much the same.
The face, the arm, the head.
Ritual washing. Yeah. But is it the same as the Sunnis? Do you do it in the same way, or do you do it differently?
It's the same.
So it goes up to the elbows, using the little finger, cleaning inside the nose and the ears.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Except the fifth pillar, because the difference between Shia Islam and Sunni Islam. Sunni Islam have 4 pillars, Shia Islam have 5 pillars. But they have a similarity between them, which is the 4 pillars, which is the fasting, siyam, and the salat, and the zakat, and the hajj. It's the 4 pillars that the Sunni and the Shia together agree on. Except some differences in the salat.
So what's the fifth pillar? Shahada? No?
The fifth pillar, no. The Sunni they say is the shahada.
Okay.
The Shia they say is the wilaya. The wilaya means the loyalty.
Yeah.
They put the loyalty as number 1 pillar in Shia Islam. The loyalty should be to the 12 imams, starting from Amir al-Mu'min Ali ibn Abi Talib, going all the way down to Al-Ta'im. It is the loyalty to them and the bara'a min a'da, and the declare of innocence from their enemies.
So coming to the salat, coming to the differences in salat, you claim that the way that you pray was taught by Prophet Muhammad.
Passed on.
Yeah, and the Sunnis claim that the way that they pray was taught by the Prophet Muhammad.
Correct.
So what evidence can you provide to me that the way that the Sunnis do salat is not following what Muhammad taught?
I'll tell you why. Because after the Muhammad got killed, Muhammad died, he got killed suddenly.
Yeah.
And after that he had put a wasiyah, he had put a message that Ali should be the guy who will lead the ummah, or lead the nation after him, who is the correct person. However, this nation didn't agree with that.
No, I'm asking about salat.
The salat. You're asking me about the salat.
I'm going to try it one more time. You have a way of praying salat that you say goes back to Muhammad. The Sunnis have a way of praying salat that goes back to Muhammad. What evidence do you have that the way you pray salat goes back to Muhammad?
No one would say.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
We believe that the 12 imams, they are the right messengers of Muhammad. We believe that because the Sunnis, they were under the Umayyad Caliphate. Because most of the Sunni territory was spread by the sword, by the Sunni Caliphate, and they have spread Qur'an and the prayer as well when they were taking the territory.
So what you're saying?
So they have spread the Sunni way.
This is not evidence. This is a claim. And what is the evidence that your salat goes back to Muhammad and not the Sunni salat? Because here's my problem. This is one of the reasons why I think all Islam is invented, whether it's Shia or Sunni.
You have to make your question clear. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to make. My question is super clear.
You said what's the difference between Sunni salat and Shia salat?
My question is super clear. Everyone will understand it. But it seems to me that the fact that the Sunnis and the Shia pray salat differently is evidence that neither form of Islam actually goes all the way back to Muhammad. That at some later point, maybe within 100 years, maybe 150 years, one or both versions of Islam invented their practices post hoc. That the practice of salat, if it really originated so concretely in the historical community, it would be identical in both groups.
But it was never the same group. There was always different between the factions. There was always a factions between the Middle East. So the Salat, people weren't praying together. Some people were praying alone. Some people were praying different mosques, like we have now in London. We have over 100 mosques, 99 Sunni mosques maybe, and 1% Shia. That's how it's always been. The Salat
So my question to you is, what is the evidence that you can provide to me that the Shia way of doing Salat is the one that goes back to Muhammad, and not the Sunni way of doing Salat is the one that goes back to Muhammad?
Experiencing it yourself, by
that's not
Sunni
proof.
One and experiencing the Shia
these
one,
are esoteric.
You see the mercy how it gets when you pray the Shia Salat.
This is not evidence that
that's the only evidence I can provide for you. If you want to try,
then you have no evidence.
You are welcome to try it because you have to try.
Then you
first.
have no evidence. You have no evidence.
I have the evidence, but you don't want to try. You have a phobia, of course.
This is not evidence.
Come with me to the mosque and pray the Shia way and see how you feel. You pray only to Yahweh.
This is
Yahweh.
Yeah, we worship Yahweh. That's true.
Yahweh. That's the Allahu la ilaha illa huwa.
No, this kind of false linguistic friend.
It's not false.
It's another silly Zakir Naik argument.
It's not Zakir Naik. I never read Zakir Naik.
It is.
All I've read is from the. Have you read the Shia book?
Akbar in Hebrew means mouse.
Akbar
means mouse. Does that mean that every time Muslims say Akbar in Arabic that they're saying mouse?
I have no idea about that.
It's a false linguistic friend. You can't say that because one word sounds like another word in another language that they mean the same thing.
Arabic is a stronger language than Hebrew. Everybody knows it.
I don't think everybody knows that. I'm sure plenty of Jews would disagree with that. There's a lot of false logic that you're using. You're appealing to esoteric evidence to claim that your form of Salat goes back to Muhammad. That doesn't prove anything. You're using false linguistic friends. The fact that words might sound similar doesn't mean that they mean the same. The fact that you've made lots of very spurious claims about the Christian faith.
Some claim
historical
a lot of
claims.
claim are truth about the Christian faith, because when George Bush invaded Iraq, he said this is the crusade. So it was very insulting to the Muslim population that lives there, because they see they see the American as people who come to liberate their country. But when you say it's a crusade, you see the feelings are like we have been betrayed. You understand?
That's completely irrelevant to the Christian faith.
That's very relevant, because you are mentioning the global. When you talk about
the
Islam,
language of crusade.
Okay?
I'm on crusade now. I'm on crusade now. The language of crusade in the Western lexicon. I don't care if it's insulting to Muslims. I honestly don't care. I want to put it on record. I don't care if Muslims are insulted by the word crusade. I'm insulted by the word jihad. So when you guys stop saying jihad, I'll stop saying crusade. But in the Western lexicon, crusade means crusade is used for any noble struggle. There was a crusade against alcohol in the West. When the abolitionists in America in the 1920s were campaigning for the abolition of the use of alcohol and to make it illegal to use alcohol across the whole of the United States, they called it a crusade. The Methodists in the 1800s, in the 1800s, the Methodists launched the Pledge Crusade, which was to get men to pledge that they wouldn't touch the vile drink, alcohol. And they called it a crusade. A crusade in the Western lexicon now simply means any noble cause.
But you are aware that the cross is related to a lot of terror.
The cross. No offence, but you have established yourself as not much of a legitimacy to anything, to be fair. Not much of an authority on anything.
I'm bringing fact that in the World War I, World War II, a lot of innocent people died. You know.
Do you think as a European that I don't know that a lot of people died in World War I and World War II? Brother, we actually have a day. You are such an ignorant man. We actually have a day. We actually have a day that commemorates the deaths of World War I and World War II. Like, the idea that I don't know that. Did you honestly think you were telling me something I didn't know just then?
No, I'm just reminding you. Maybe you forgot.
No, bro. No one born in the West forgets that. You don't forget that. So anyway, brother.
Anyways, I don't want to go to this. Let's talk about the faith. What's your faith?
I'm a Christian.
Christian what? Because we have Protestant, we have Lutheran, we have Seventh Adventist, we have Jehovah's Witnesses. You have to open your chest more.
So a Christian is someone who is a disciple of Christ. They follow Christ. That is the only thing that a Christian is. all of these denominations that you've talked about, none of them originate in Scripture. None of them are prescribed in Scripture. They're all the inventions. They're all the inventions of men. There is one body of Christ, one Christian community, and it is made up of the groups that you have just aforementioned. But those aforementioned groups do not in themselves represent the totality of the Christian faith.
So you didn't answer my question. What is your sect?
I don't have a sect. I am just a Christian.
What book are you reading about Christianity? How did you get educated?
I read the Bible.
The Bible. What version of the Bible is it?
This current one is the NASB, but I also have a New Jerusalem translation, a King James translation, and an ESV.
Do you use the Orthodox and the Catholic Scripture?
In terms of the canon, are you referring to canon?
As a layman, in terms of their Bibles, they claim to be.
Are you more?
I'm happy to use either.
So the books you're reading is it made in the UK or what country is like the?
I think the NASB was printed in America.
Printed in America.
Yeah.
So it's
No, 2019.
So you think that the Bible, because I'm reading one that was printed in America, it was made in America? Is that what you think?
Not like that. I'm thinking that maybe the
I just don't get the point you're trying to make.
In America, right?
You what?
That scholars that put the book together.
No, it's an international. No, the translation of the NASB was a collection of international scholars from around the world.
2020 model?
You what?
2020 version.
Sorry?
Is it a 2020 version or
What's a
2019?
2020 version?
Or 2019?
It was printed before any of those. But what point do you think you're making?
That you change it every year, or is it one thing?
You think it's changed every year?
I'm asking.
Explain to me
Right,
about.
so allow me to explain, because a lot of.
I just want to ask one question because it's very important.
Okay, you're going to ask one question and then I'm going to deal with this guy, because no offense, you've asked a lot
How
of
many
questions.
pillars have they have in your faith? In your
Right.
Christianity?
Okay, I'll just let my friend.
No difference.
Wait, he didn't. I asked him for evidence that his form of Salat goes back to Muhammad, and he didn't provide any evidence.
There's not much difference, to be honest with you.
There is a difference, though.
The main
and that's
difference is in
important.
the wilaya. The difference between Sunni and Shia.
Those slight differences. If you pray Salat in the Shia, I'm going to make a grand assumption here. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm guessing you're a Sunni. What? Sorry? Okay, so when you pray, do you pray with your hands like this or like this?
I pray with my hands open.
Hands like this. Open. So you pray with your hands down here. So you're Shia.
No.
Sunnis open with their hands as well.
Sunnis also pray like this.
Well, I think.
Maliki school open with their hands as well.
Right. Okay. Fine. I've just learned something new there.
Yeah.
Do you pray with a little rock?
No. Some people do, some people don't.
Yeah. Some Shia do and some Sunnis don't. So there are differences, isn't there?
Some Shias also don't.
Slight differences.
Yeah.
But the main difference is the.
However, let me come back.
This is a postural difference.
Let me.
Do you know why they pray on the rock?
No. He explained it as he believes it's something to do with the way that spiritual, the cleansing of
Basically,
that.
what it is, basically, back in the Prophet's time, people used to prostrate on the earth, and the rock itself was actually made out of clay.
Yeah.
And basically, it's
Just to denote that.
Made out of clay. People prostrate on that to get closer to God.
So
because back in the old days,
not God.
if we go back to the Prophet's day, people used to pray on the soil.
That's fine.
And even there's hadiths in Sunni literature that show that people, the companions, used to pray on mud.
So should you use a rock or not?
I believe everybody should use a rock.
Should you use a clay rock or not when you pray Salat?
No, it doesn't matter.
You think it's down to individual choice?
Well, it's down to individual choice, the way they have been taught by their own school of thought.
So it's not a prescribed thing. Muhammad didn't prescribe a way to pray Salat.
No, he has prescribed it.
Some basics, yes.
What I'm trying to say is...
So he, hold on, no, this is really important. So he prescribed the basics, but then there were some later developments that you have individual choice over. That's what you're saying.
It's not development. It's just a.
No, it is a development.
Listen.
It is a development.
You are talking about the postural differences of Salat.
Yes,
It's
that's
not
fine.
about only posture. It's the connection with the God. It's the main.
Yeah, he touched
remembrance-
on the theological differences.
Remembrance to God, that you are always answerable to God.
My
to
question
Allah.
is...
It doesn't matter
No, it
if
really
you are
does.
praying with your
It
hands.
really does. Because...
For you.
Because... No,
Not
it
for
does
us.
for
If
you.
you wanna speak
One
statistics-
second.
Let me ask you the question,
No,
because you cannot
this
find
is...
an
No,
answer.
one
I
second.
have an
One
answer
second.
for you.
One second.
What's the question? Where you leading the question?
So my point is...
What are you trying to point out?
There you go. This guy's on it. You know exactly where I'm going.
When you pray, there's an element of
Thank you.
So you're trying to say
You've just evidenced the bid'ah. You've just evidenced the bid'ah in your religion. Because what you essentially
What is
argue,
bid'ah? You know what is
what
bid'ah?
you
What is
essentially
bid'ah? What is
argue,
bid'ah?
innovation,
No,
innovation,
it's not
doing
innovation.
something that Muhammad didn't do.
No.
No offense, but
no offense. I'm telling
if you want to correct me, bring out
Yeah,
some
yeah.
evidence.
Yeah, I will tell you. I will
So
tell
no,
you.
I'm going to I'm going to
what
finish
is
my
bid'ah?
point. I'm going to finish my point. I'm going to let me finish my point. Let me go and finish my point. The fact of the matter is, you guys together just argued that Muhammad gave some basics of Salat, and that these things like using the prayer stone or the mat is something that you have an individual choice over. But if that means that you are having an individual choice over it, that means it's not something that Muhammad prescribed. It's
brother.
something that you later innovated.
Brother.
And if you innovated, it's not what Muhammad gave you. So
No,
correct me
brother.
where my logic is wrong.
Brother,
Correct me where my logic is
First
wrong.
of all, your definition of bid'ah is not right. Your
Tell me what the
understanding
correct.
of it.
Tell me what the correct definition
Bid'ah
is,
is
and then
something
show me
which
your
you do-
sources.
Sources I don't have it right now, but I know it authentically. If you want, I can provide.
So
you
it's just
that.
your opinion
So-
against my opinion. But go on, I'll listen to your opinion. Go on.
Yeah, we are here for our opinion.
Yes, I'm listening to your opinion.
Yeah, please. Bid'ah is something which you do with the feeling, with the concept that it is the only thing which is preferred in the eyes of God. That is something which is bid'ah. If I'm using this phone, which Muhammad did not use it, it's not bid'ah. Understand? So if I'm saying salah and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said something which are basics and which are something which are not basics, I'm doing it, it's not bid'ah.
Okay, the definition that I have read of bid'ah is that it is doing something that is not sunnah. It is doing
No,
something that
that's
Muhammad
wrong.
didn't give you a
That's wrong.
prescription
For
to do,
example,
or that he didn't do himself, and you have innovated it about the religion.
wrong.
No, well, that's my understanding. You'll have to bring evidence if you want to correct me. So, in terms of salat, let's be clear. What actually did Muhammad prescribe in terms of salat?
let me tell you.
How many motions?
Let me tell you.
How many motions?
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Qiyam. Standing.
Standing? Wait, one, sorry, I've got two people
Prostration.
talking to me. You're just going to have to wait your turn.
Prostration.
Prostration?
Sajda.
Yeah.
See? Ablution. Yeah, Allahu Akbar.
3.
Your intention that I'm saying salah.
Yep.
You are not just doing an exercise.
Yep.
That is intention.
Yep.
Ablution.
No, ablutions would do. I'm talking about the actual the act
Yeah,
of salat.
there are things which are inside,
Agreed.
which are inside, which are apparent,
Yes.
and which are time bound.
Okay.
So it has to be time
So
bound also.
did Muhammad say to pray with your hands like this or like this?
You know the best answer to
You
this question.
don't know exactly.
If you come
That's
with
my point.
Listen. The best answer to this question.
You don't know.
Listen,
No, it's
listen.
important. No,
You
let me.
come
No,
and
no,
you're
I'm
experiencing
addressing
by yourself.
It's important.
You see the salat
It's
by
important
yourself.
because you're arguing that your religion was perfected by Muhammad. But the reality is, when you perform salat, you don't know if one of the postures comes from Muhammad or not.
You come with us. You come with me as a guest.
What is religion?
Half an hour. I'll show you how they pray.
Religion
I'm
is the way of life Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has asked us to follow.
Including salat, right?
Including
And
salat.
so,
but
should you pray like this,
brother,
or should you pray like this?
I'm so sorry that you are just trying to prove your point without any substance.
Thank you. No, there is substance
your
there.
substance is only one point. That if
there's multiple
you are not
points.
told to hold your hands like this or that, then your religion is not complete. Sorry.
Well, tell me, is the salat of the Shia valid?
Absolutely.
Is the salat of the Sunni valid?
If they have those 4 or 5 basic principles intact, it's valid. If they don't do qiyam is like standing.
Yeah.
It will not be valid. And if they are not, if they are physically unable to.
So hold on a
stand,
second. If you don't stand during salat,
and if you are physically
able,
yeah,
I accept that there's a leniency for people
yeah,
with disabilities.
yeah.
But what you're saying is, if you don't stand when you're able to do salat, your salat is invalid. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But yet you're saying that posture is important, but where you place your hands is not important.
That's not farais.
Where does Muhammad say that standing invalidates your salat, but the posture of moving your hands doesn't?
Well, if you are asking me, if you are asking me the clear-cut evidence or clear-cut reference to some book, I don't have it right now.
Okay,
but
fair
that
enough.
that is there. If you are really serious, you can get it.
I find it
from the
peculiar.
libraries,
I
from
find
the-
it peculiar that we have two forms of salat. They
Four
are
or five.
different.
Not two. There are 4 or 5.
4 or 5 different forms of salat amongst the different groups of Muslims.
Yeah.
Give me what other ones? I know about the Shia and the
I
Sunni.
mean, holding hand like this, holding hands like this, leaving your hand like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are 3 or 4 forms.
3 or 4 forms.
Yeah.
Are there any other differences? There's also the use of the
Any
clay
other
stone.
Clay stone is fine. Why are you just hooked to a clay stone?
Why?
Why
Because
are you? If I'm reading on a blue mat or a red mat or a floor or on a carpet, it doesn't make any difference.
The mat is not important to salat.
What salah is?
The mat is not important to salat. So why are you raising that? I'm not raising that.
So you said clay. Clay is
the
some
clay
form
stone
of,
is used by certain groups of Muslims.
So what?
They claim that they claim that their salat, their way of salat.
What salah is intended for?
The intention is not in dispute.
Yeah.
What is in dispute is the
following that
innovation
intention, that's fine.
and the fact that a perfected
You are
religion has human innovation.
You have very incomplete knowledge, and you are just trying to use that incomplete knowledge to question the authenticity of salah.
Yes, I am.
Sorry.
Yes,
Sorry.
I am. Because
That's
your salats are different. You don't know which one comes from Muhammad.
Your car is
because
different.
we have one
your
direction,
face
so we
is
prostrate
different. Your
to one
language is
direction, it's to
different.
Mecca, understand? So Sunni or Shia, when do we pray? We go all the way, we direct ourselves to Mecca.
Pagans used to worship in Mecca. Does that prove nothing?
I'm just answering your question.
I really pray to God that Allah gives you the proper thinking to understand the knowledge, to understand the authenticity.
Should humans innovate? Should humans innovate upon the 5 pillars of Islam?
Innovate meaning
that
if you are
using
jihad.
my definition.
No, ijtihad. There is one word, ijtihad, which is because we have 3 sources of rules from where the rules of Islam come.
Yeah.
One is the absolute, which is Qur'an.
Yep.
Then is Sunnah.
Yep.
And then is ijtihad.
Okay.
Ijtihad is when scholars sit together and they feel that the world has changed, the time has changed, and they have to bring about this change. They sit together and they do ijtihad.
Yep.
So, absolutely, yes.
So in
People
the
can
practice of the 5 pillars, it is okay to innovate and to do something that Muhammad
But
didn't do, to do it differently from the way Muhammad did
Not
it.
every Tom, Dick and Harry can do it. There is a proper forum and a proper legal system which will allow that change to happen. Not
a proper
me and
legal
you can
system.
do it.
So Islam and the practice of the 5 pillars is being co-created between the scholars and the sources.
Not co-created, I would say.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have that these councils of scholars
I'm not
are
agreeing
coming
to the
together.
word co-created. I'm for example,
But if
when
you're
we
doing
go for
some,
Hajj,
but if
when we
you're
go for
doing
Hajj,
some, let's talk about Salat.
Yeah.
If you're doing something
Why-
that Muhammad
why
didn't
talk
do,
about
let's
Salah
talk
only?
about
Why?
Salat.
Why?
Let's talk about because that's the example.
Why can't I give you an example of Hajj?
Because we're using the example of Salat. In terms of Salat, you're saying that it is acceptable for scholars to adapt or modulate Salat according to the circumstances.
Absolutely, yes.
That's absolutely fine.
Absolutely fine.
So when
I can give you an example of that.
So when Muhammad,
I can give you an example
of Salat being
that.
adapted.
Of Salah, yeah.
Go on.
Because
by the scholars, not by Muhammad.
By the scholars, that when this timing dispute comes in Scandinavia or the North Pole, that how would you do the Salah? Because Salah is related to the sun.
Yes.
So the scholars came up with some solution. They
Yes.
said, yes, this is the way you will say Salah in North Pole.
Yes.
You will say Salah in South Pole.
Yeah. So Islam is being invented as it goes
Not
forward
invented,
in time.
sorry, invented is the wrong word.
It's been co-created by Muslim
not
scholars from
co-created,
generation
not invented,
to generation.
No, sorry.
When Muhammad,
they give you
was Islam
proper
perfect
way.
at the time of Muhammad?
Absolutely.
So why did you need to add to it?
We are not adding to
Do
it.
you add something that is perfect?
No. When you were born, you were wearing some clothes which you are unable to wear it now.
Do you?
So it doesn't.
Yeah, because they're not perfect.
Yeah.
Because they're not perfect.
No, it was perfect.
Yeah,
It
because
was
they're
perfect.
man-made and not perfect.
No.
Thank you.
Sorry. Listen, you are just using this co-invented. You are just trying to prove it without having that proof.
But the evidence is you've given me the evidence. You didn't even listen to yourself.
Evidence?
Because Muhammad gave something that was perfect in the 7th century, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So if it was perfect when you've got a perfect house, do you change it?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So you change perfection. Can man...
Perfection? What is perfection?
Can man...
Are you talking about absolute?
Yes.
Absolute
So Islam
in
was
what
not
way?
absolutely perfect
It
in the
was,
7th century.
My dear brother.
Is that what you're saying?
My dear brother, no. You are putting your words in my mouth. I'm not saying that. You are just trying to capture me with the use of words. Co-invention, reinvention.
I'm not being sophist. I am
my dear,
simply
my dear,
building
my
on
dear.
what you're saying.
Is your purpose of this understanding is that if you come to understand, you will follow it, or you are just arguing for the sake of arguing?
What I'm suggesting to you is that you need to reflect about whether
I reflect every day 5 times.
When
I stand for prayer, when I stand for Salat,
you need to reflect.
I reflect.
You need to reflect on whether what you believe about Islam is actually true.
Alhamdulillah. Perfect.
That's what you need to reflect upon.
Perfect.
And that's the point
and
you're making.
There is
this argument.
nothing which, because it has been proven, it has been the 1400 or 1500 years time has proven it is the most perfect religion.
Well, no, it hasn't.
The book is there, and
no,
the
it
book
hasn't. The book has been changed. The hadiths were invented.
No, sorry.
Salat was adapted. Hajj was adapted.
No.
It has roots in.
The basics are
the
not
practice of fasting was adapted.
No.
The law schools were invented. These are all historically accurate. These are all historically accurate statements.
Let me tell you, in a very humble way, in a very loving and humble way.
Which one of these statements was wrong?
Every statement.
Every statement. So the law schools were established by Muhammad. They didn't come later.
Law schools?
That's one of the things that I said. I said that the law schools were invented later.
So as car or motorcycles or planes.
But you just said that I was lying when I said that.
My dear.
So was I telling the truth or telling a lie?
No, I don't know. You are a master.
I was telling the truth.
You are a master of words.
I was telling the truth.
You are a master of words.
Thank you very much. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. It's official.
Yeah.
I have been declared the master of words.
But
I'll put that on my CV.
Yeah, your intention to understand, or your
my intention is to cause you to reflect. That is my desire.
Alhamdulillah, I reflect every day 5
anyway,
times.
Go on, bro. You wanted to ask a question.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Happy New Year.
And what I understood from your...
Sorry, let this...
Just one word, just one. I appreciate that I understood that the crusade is like anything which is going against the evil.
A crusade is any noble cause against evil, So, go on. No, I'm going to stay on camera. You can stay off camera if you like. You can stay off camera if you like.
Are you on YouTube?
Nice to meet you.
Soco Films. Nice to meet you again. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Soco Film.
Soco Films, Go on.
Go back to basically.
No, I'm going to stay on camera. Yes, because we're recording. You can stay here though.
Now you can see on this side and ask.
Why don't you want it on camera? Why don't you want it on camera? You're not on camera. Only your voice is on camera.
Just 5 minutes off camera.
You are off camera. I am on camera. No one can see your face. What is it you would like to say?
I'd like to take you back to basically you said the developments about
the innovations. Yeah. No. Why can't you put it on record? Why don't you want to put it on record? If you can't have it on camera, then no. Why can't you have it on? Yeah, because I want to hear what you say on record.
I wonder what that question was going to be.
I have no idea. Could you get JC? Please. You alright, bro?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. You're Christian, aren't you?
I am.
Good. Thanks be to God. Are you having a good Christmas?
You too. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, my Christmas is
It's the 7th of January, yes.
Yeah.
You're going by the Julian calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have our calendar. I'm from Ethiopia.
Yeah. I was just reading about that recently, the Gregorian and the Julian calendar.
Yeah. It's
I think you guys are going to have to accept that the calendar needs to change, you know? Because it's connected to the sun. That's why we changed the calendar.
And which calendar?
The Gregorian calendar. That's why we changed it in the 1500s.
Our calendar is related directly to religion, to the Christianity.
It was the Julian calendar you used.
Yeah, I think I don't know which one is Julian, which one is Gregorian. Anyway.
So the Julian calendar is the one you use.
Yeah.
That was connected to Julius Caesar. But the festivals, when the festivals were placed on that calendar, that comes from religion. But the timing of the calendar is connected to the Julian calendar, and it's off by 11 minutes.
Okay, finish.
Unless this brother's got any questions.
Yeah. Actually, he wants to debate you, I think, but he wants to be off camera.
I want it to be on record.
Okay, I can play your face. No, but
you don't have to appear on camera. You could just stand there, and then you don't appear on camera.
What about if you stand here?
No, you gotta be standing here. So otherwise, I won't
you can stand there.
No, because I won't be able to catch his voice.
I can repeat what he says. You stand there, say what you want, and I'll repeat it. So, what's gone?
Okay, you know, we want to go back to the discussion which you were talking about the early development.
Yeah.
You said which was an innovation. So what's your understanding of innovation?
So my understanding.
What was the question?
So the question was, what is my understanding of the innovations that were created by later Muslims to the practice of Salat, established by Muhammad?
Right.
Fair? Yeah.
His arguments that Shia
So-
also innovated certain things in Islam. Ask
So-
him to prove one innovation.
Here's the evidence of the innovation. You have two forms of Islam. Each one of them practices Salat, and they are slightly different from one another. Now, depending on most Muslims, when you speak to most Muslims, they will accept one another's Salat. It seems here in the park, they'll accept one another's Salat. But the obvious question to ask is, which form of that Salat goes back to Muhammad? Which one did Muhammad actually teach? Did he teach that you should put your hands by your sides? Or did he teach that you should fold your hands in front of you? These prostrations are the form of Salat. They are different. Sunnis don't pray like Shia, and Shia don't pray like Sunni for a reason. Now, if it's a case that it's a personal choice, as it kind of was argued by you and this other gentleman collectively, you kind of argued that it was down to a personal choice.
You didn't argue that, did you?
No, I didn't say personal choice. I think he's misinterpreting.
So explain to me, which one do you think came from Muhammad? To fold your arms across, or to leave your arms down by your sides? Which one do you think came from Muhammad?
According to basically the way we thought, we obviously follow the sunnah of the Prophet, and we take our teachings from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it goes back. Our teaching goes back to the Prophet. So we believe on the Prophet who prayed with his arms open.
His arms open.
With his arms open.
So,
according to our teaching.
According to your teaching, and according to your sources, Muhammad prayed with his arms open wide.
That's what we believe.
Right, so like this, down by the sides. The Sunnis believe that it's folded. What evidence would you to provide to a Sunni that they should leave their arms open like Muhammad did?
You're not answering the objection. The objection was repeat your question. You need to prove to him the innovation of the Shia.
No, I asked the brother to show me. I don't know who innovated. I'm not saying the Shia innovated. I'm not saying the Sunni innovated. I'm saying that somebody innovated, and I don't know who. That's what I'm actually saying. I'm saying that someone, post hoc, after Muhammad, modulated the practice of Salat. Because you have two forms of Salat, they both claim to go back to Muhammad, but they're different. And if they're different, it's because somewhere along the line, something got corrupted, either accidentally or deliberately, either by one party or by both parties. So I want to find out who was the one that corrupted the Salat, the Shia or the Sunni. So my question to you is, what is your evidence that the Shia way of doing Salat goes back to Muhammad and not the Sunni way of...
We have sources, they have their sources. Now it's down up to you to decide what is an innovation and what is not. What was innovated after Prophet Muhammad, what wasn't. And that's your research. You can ask him. He can go back to his source and say the reason why we pray like this is because what our sources say.
Right. So what we've got now then are there's Muslim Sunni sources and Shia Sunni sources. So we have two types of sources that are separate from one another. that are different to one another with some overlap. Is that correct? Right. So, in terms of that overlap, in terms of that difference, yeah? Which of these sources, how do you evidence that your sources, the ones that are different from the Sunni, the ones that contradict the Sunni, go back to Muhammad and not theirs?
This is how, in short, given the answer, I'll give it to you in short. Prophet Muhammad spoke about two weighty things, the Book of God and his Ahlul Bayt family members. He said, hold on to these two, you won't go astray, right? So therefore his commandment before his companions, before his other family members, everyone was to follow the Qur'an and his Ahlul Bayt.
Do you have anything in the Qur'an that talks about the weightiness of Muhammad's family?
Well, 1 minute. We do, but the thing is this is his command, which itself is weighty. It has come to us from the news of more than 30 companions. Not one witness, 30 witnesses. Because it's strong, so therefore we would rather follow the Ahlul Bayt in their interpretation and understanding of the Quran rather than the companions. So this is evidence, there's nothing more than that.
So your argument is that there are 30 companions that talk about the importance of Muhammad's family, is that correct?
Yeah, Quran and the family.
Right, but here's the problem. As a Christian looking in on this dispute between Sunni and Shia, what I see is the fact that they're both claiming that their sources go back to the companions. The Sunnis claim that their sources go back to the companions, and the Shia claim that their sources go back to the companions.
We've just given you evidence.
Yeah.
With the news of 30 companions, you need to go back.
I am going to address that. I'm going to address that. But the point of the fact of the matter is, Muslims make a big deal about how you can trust their hadiths. They make this big argument, oh, the hadiths are more reliable than the Bible. I am going to finish what I'm saying and then I'm going to address my point. I'm going to finish what I'm saying and then I will address my point.
You've got agenda.
Yeah, I have an agenda. Of course I have an agenda. Of course. Why don't you let me finish what I'm saying? Why don't you let me finish what I'm saying? Why don't you let me finish what I'm saying? So the fact of the matter is, Muslims make this big argument that their hadiths are more reliable than our Gospels. But the reality is, as we see by the debates between the Shia and the Sunni, those Muslims themselves can't agree upon the reliability of their hadiths. They're knocking chunks out of one another. The Shia are saying that the Sunni hadiths are unreliable, the Sunnis are saying that the Shia hadiths are unreliable, and the reality is that if they can't agree upon which hadiths are reliable amongst themselves, how can we possibly know?
Perfect.
By contrast, Christians do not disagree about the Gospels. Every single Christian, whether they're Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox or Protestant, all agree on Matthew, Mark, Luke and John and the other 27 books of the New Testament. There is universal agreement amongst Christians on the New Testament, but there is no universal agreement between Shia and Sunni about which hadiths you can believe. So when they say, coming back to your point, let me just finish the point, because I wanted to make that point. It's important, because he's claiming that they have 30 companions that say about the importance of the family of Muhammad. Now, I reject that logic. I reject that logic because it is disputed by Sunnis.
That's why you reject it.
I reject it because it's used. I reject it because I reject the Sunni. I reject the Shia logic because it is disputed by Sunnis.
On the same basis,
Let me finish. However, if you can show me in the Quran, that Muhammad emphasized his own family, then I will think that you have weight to your argument.
What's going to happen? Are you going to accept Islam?
No, I'm not going to accept Islam, but I might believe that the Sunnis were the ones that corrupted Islam. Let the sister ask a question.
The discussion started on innovation.
Yeah.
Now it's leading to division. It clearly shows that you've got an agenda.
Yes, I have an agenda.
You're trying to divide the Muslims. You're not here to learn.
Muslims are divided. They were divided centuries ago. It's not got anything to do with me.
We believe in the Prophet and we believe in the Quran. End of discussion.
But you don't just believe in the Prophet, do you?
Yes, we do.
You also, as a Shia, believe in the imanate, the continuation of the prophetic authority. Is that true or not? Do you believe in an imamate?
You're opening up so many different topics. We started on innovation.
So let's talk about innovation.
No, but you have not proven.
The hadiths are innovated. Can you show me in the Quran where Muhammad, can you show me the only text that we can date to Muhammad's time is the Quran? The hadiths came later, hundreds of years later in terms of the Sunni hadiths. The collection Sahih al-Bukhari, do you accept it or not? You accept all of it.
If it goes with the Quran and what the Prophet ﷺ said, we accept it.
So the Shia accept all of, you accept all of the hadiths that come from Aisha?
Yeah, if it goes against the Quran, we don't. If it's with the Quran, we accept it.
Right. So in terms of the Quran, does the Quran...
You're jumping onto hadiths, you're talking about innovation.
I am trying to talk about innovation, but you keep interrupting me. You keep interrupting me. Show me in the Quran where it says that you lay out hadiths. Show me. Show me.
Clearly here, to basically create division.
Do you have any statement in the Quran validating the use of hadiths? Yours? No. None. Go on.
Do you have any references on how the Sabians used to pray? Because the Sabians had prayers. They were in the Mecca area, and they say that it was the Sabians from which Islam took the prayer. So, do you know how the Sabians used to pray?
So, in terms
and
of
that may have some conclusion about
I do not know of any sources talking about Sabian prayer. Have you got any to share? No. But in terms of prostration, in terms of prostration, Christians prostrate in our prayers. Lots of Muslims don't know this. They often come along and they say, oh, well, you know, you Christians, you don't pray like Jesus. And then they talk about Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane when Christ lay prostrate on the floor. And they say, oh, he prays like a Muslim, but you don't pray like that. The fact of the matter is, Christians were using prostration centuries before Muslims. If you go to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Coptic Orthodox Church, or even if you go to the Catholic Church on Easter, on Good Friday, you will see Christians prostrate. You go to any Russian Orthodox Church, Christians prostrate. I go to a church that does prostration in prayer. So the idea that Christians don't use prostration is a ridiculous claim. Lots of religions use prostration. The early pagans in Mecca would prostrate around the Kaaba to their idols. And the Muslims, in imitation of their pagan predecessors, prostrate before a stone rock in the Kaaba. Christian prayer is different from Islamic prayer, because it's about praying and worshipping in spirit and in truth. And we use the words of the words that the Lord taught us. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who have trespassed against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. This is not an innovation. These are the words of our Lord. They come to us and we Christians practice it. Whether we prostrate or stand or sit is irrelevant. But in Islam, you have a form of prayer, none of which can be linked back to Muhammad. Muslims can't show 5 times of prayer in the Quran. They can't show the use of hadiths in the Quran. They can't show the nature of their prostration in the Quran. It's innovation upon innovation upon innovation. It is a post hoc development of Islam. But yet Muslims also claim that Islam is a perfected religion at the time of Muhammad. Why do you change something that's perfect? If it's perfect, how can you improve upon it? If it's perfect, how can you make it better? But yet time and time again, through the development of Islam, we see exactly that, development and change. Development and change of something that is perfect cannot create perfection. If it was perfect at the beginning, You changing it will only make it less perfect, not more perfect. How can you improve upon something that God gave you? If Islam was perfected at the time of Muhammad, how can you improve upon it by creating hadiths? If it was perfected at the time of Muhammad, how can you improve upon it through the use of ijtihad? If it was perfected at the time of Muhammad, how can you improve upon it by adapting Salat? If it was perfected at the time of Muhammad, how can you make it better by inventing law schools? Any development or change to that which Muhammad had perfect at his own time can only mean imperfection because the source is a human source. Christianity, by contrast, is different. Christianity, by contrast, begins at the imperfection of man. It starts by saying that man is a sinner and corrupt, and therefore any system that you place over man, he will corrupt that system also. The point of the Christian faith is to mitigate the sinfulness of man, to improve man's nature, to make man better than he is born in his natural state, by reordering his values and by giving him a narrative to live by that is different from the one that he feels in his heart naturally. Because man naturally gravitates towards his lusts and his desires and his passions. But Christ gives us a narrative of self-denial and the reordering of our values based upon faith, hope and love. And I offer to you, Muslims who are listening to this on camera, that there is something better than Islam. Your religion logically fails. Your religion sociologically has failed. Your religion economically has failed. Your religion militarily has failed. Your religion in terms of its authorities has failed. But the Christian faith stands because you can be a disciple of Jesus from the 1st century to the 21st century, because innovation and adaptation is part and parcel of the religion, because the Christian faith deals with ontology, it deals with human beings and the way of being human rather than a system of laws. And that is why it is a better way to live. Any questions before I go and get a cup of tea? No? Good. Good to see you. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.